Are you wondering why you just don't drift off into sleep, even when you feel really tired? There are two sleep blockers that explain this experience. The first one is the cue block, when we're tired but not sleepy, and this blocks our sleep. The second block is the forecasting block, and that is when we're saying, I should fall asleep because I'm this tired, and that forecasting keeps us awake. Tune in for this, and you'll see how this happens and how to lift these blocks so that you arrive where you have peaceful sleep and peace of mind. Welcome to the second ever frequently asked sleep questions episode, in which we're going to look at these two sleep blocks, how to lift them so we sleep easily. Now, I hope you're enjoying all the free content here and it leads you where you want to be. But do know that if you're feeling stuck, there is something of a limitation in terms of how much we can learn and really understand from just kind of passively tuning in. That's why I try to answer as many questions as I can, because I want to give everyone in the world, without, regardless of like your financial situation or your means, help you arrive where you want to be, which is a place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. But what often is really valuable is like discourse, like asking a question, getting an answer, asking a follow-up question. And if that's something that you think could lead you to where you want to be, then head over to our website, thesleepcoachschool.com. There is some wonderful programs, including our Insomnia Immunity program and BedTyme, that are really, really helpful. But yeah, let's get into today's episode here, which are about the two sleep blockers. And this question, why can't I sleep even when I'm tired, is one of the most common questions. And the answer really lies in these two sleep blockers. Now, we are going to go over them, of course, but we're going to start briefly with reviewing the gas and brake model, which explains how sleep works. And that is going to really make sense of these two sleep blockers and how they lift. And then we're gonna go over them and see how to not have those sleep blockers anymore. So let's start with the gas and brake model. Sleep is actually very simple. Our own experiences and everything we hear on the World Wide Web can often make us believe that sleep is complicated. Oh, we gotta get this right. Our mental state has to be right. Our sleep environment has to be right. We gotta eat the right things. We gotta exercise. No, sleep is very simple. There are really just two factors that matter. One is sleep drive, and the other one is hyperarousal. Sleep drive is our body's need for sleep. It's want for sleep. It's sort of like hunger in a way. The longer we go without eating, the hungrier we become, and the more we eat. Similarly, in our sleep system, we have this drive for sleep, and it's called sleep drive. The longer we stay awake, the more sleep drive we have. And we experience that sleep drive as sleepiness. And we experience that as sleepiness when hyperarousal comes down. Hyperarousal is the block in our sleep system, is that like this heightened state of alertness that blocks sleep for us. And there's normally some level of arousal during the day that just keeps us functioning. But in the end of the day, when our body thinks it's time to sleep, then that arousal level is like pulled back. And that's when we feel the sleep drive. We're like, oh, we can suddenly feel like, oh, now I feel sleepy. That's not because suddenly our sleep drive is really, going through the roof. It's because the arousal levels are naturally kind of like being pulled away from, in our system, and we're starting to feel sleepiness, right? But hyperarousal, that's the block. That's when our brain thinks, no, we shouldn't sleep now. It's not a good time to sleep. There's some kind of excitement or something threatening happening, and then we have this hyper arousal that blocks our sleep, and that's it. Sleep drive and hyper arousal. That's the only two factors that matter when it comes to sleep. If we have sleep drive and no hyper arousal, we're going to fall into sleep easily. Now, with that in mind, let us look at these two sleep blockers that explain why sometimes we don't fall asleep even when we feel tired. And the first one I call the cue block. And it's quite simple. If we are tired, but actually we don't have much sleep drive, that is going to block our sleep. There's actually nothing to make us sleep. So in essence, that is the block. The blocker here is the lack of sleep drive. And we experience this if we're feeling tired, as in kind of drained, exhausted, and we think, oh, I should sleep, and we go to bed and nothing happens. We're not really concerned or worried. We're just like, oh, this is odd. Like, I'm not falling asleep, even if I'm tired. This is explained by the fact that we're tired, but we're actually not sleepy. And this applies to both mental and physical fatigue. And mental fatigue, of course, is that state of feeling kind of internally drained when we've had a really long day. We asked a lot of questions, and like it was, we were thinking a lot, processing a lot. Maybe we just feel like emotionally drained, emotionally tired. That's not going to make us sleep. So that we can be confused and think like, oh, I should sleep because I feel like emotionally drained. But again, this is not sleep drive, so that's not going to lead to sleep. And same thing with physical fatigue. If we've been like running and like exercising and we feel like really tired in our bodies, that is also not going to lead us to sleep, because that is not sleep drive. So this is the first block, the Q block, that explains why we don't fall asleep even if we feel tired. Now, the second block is the forecasting block. And this is when we are like, we are truly sleepy, like we have sleep drive. We're not mentally or physically tired. We are actually sleepy. And if we are truly sleepy and go to bed and we're thinking, oh, I'm so sleepy, this should really make me sleep, or I'm so sleepy, I hope this makes me sleep. The sleepiness better make me sleep. Guess what? We're now increasing the stakes. We sleep well in this like low stakes environment. We're feeling sleepy, or maybe we don't even feel sleepy, but we go to bed and then, we kind of close our eyes and we drift off. Like there's no prediction, there's no forecasting, there's no like debating whether we're going to sleep or not. That's kind of a low stakes environment. But if we start going like, oh my gosh, I'm really sleepy, this should put me to sleep. Now we're raising the stakes. Now we're making predictions. Now we're forecasting. It's almost like gambling. We're kind of like in the mind space of, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? What's going on? Like we produce this hyperarousal. We're in this kind of like increased stakes environment, and increased stakes. Yeah, that means hyperarousal, which blocks sleep. So this is like where our forecasting, our thinking around whether we'll sleep or not is blocking our sleep. Now, this of course explains the fact that we can also, like, even if we are sleepy tired, if we're sleepy but we forecast, we won't sleep even in this scenario. So that also explains why we can't sleep even when we're feeling tired. And that's it. Those are the two blocks that can keep us from sleeping even when we feel tired, which naturally leads to the question, what do we do? What do we do if we would have this like Q block or this forecasting block? How do we move forward so we're unblocked, if you will? We're no longer having this situation. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second, but first I'm going to talk about like the temptation when we learn about these two blocks. When it comes to the Q block, the temptation is to go, oh, I get it. I've been going to bed when I'm tired, not sleepy. I've got to pay more attention to my cues. I've got to figure out when I really feel sleepy. I'm gonna wait till I feel like my eyelids are really droopy and like I feel this overwhelming sense of sleepiness. Like just that's my cue. That's gonna be when I go to bed, so that I can time it perfectly so that I sleep right away. You see why this is tricky, right? Because here we are entering into a state where hyperarousal is gonna come from us trying to predict if we're sleepy enough, like paying attention to ourselves, self-monitoring, again, predicting and trying to forecast and have control. This is very tricky. But this is the temptation when we hear about the Q block. Now, when it comes to forecasting block, the temptation is to go, oh, I'm just gonna have a blank state of mind. I'm gonna think about like the beach or some ocean sound, something nice. I'm not gonna forecast if I'm gonna sleep or not. I'm not gonna think about sleep when I go to bed. Which is tricky because we cannot control our thoughts this way. This leads to another form of internal struggle where we try to control our thoughts in a way that keeps us in a hyper-aroused state. So actually, what really helps is to see that in either case, whether it takes us a while to fall asleep because we went to bed when we were tired, or it takes us a while to fall asleep because we had been forecasting, it is perfectly safe. There's no threat. There's no real problem. We're just awake. That is all that is happening. And when we see that, that leads us again away from trying to find the perfect cue, away from forecasting. It leads us to a place where we're like, oh, yeah, I'm awake. I went to bed maybe earlier than I should, or maybe I have some forecast, maybe I have some concerns about my sleep or something like that going on. But that's okay. I'm awake now, so I can just rest, or I can listen to a show, or I can, leave the bed and do something else and go back to bed when I feel like it. And this is what leads to the unblocking. When we're no longer trying to figure it out, we understand what's happening, there's no mystery. There we go. Now we're going to find ourselves having no struggle falling asleep and sleeping when we feel tired. I hope this was really helpful to you. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Hi, it's me, Daniel, and I hope you found a ton of value in the video that you just watched. As you can probably tell, we share everything freely on our YouTube channel about what leads us from insomnia to a place of peaceful sleep for the rest of our lives. But it can take some time and bandwidth to go through all the free content to find the answers to the questions that you have. And this is why we have already done curation for you in our Insomnia Immunity program and in BedTyme. So if you want to save some time and bandwidth, those are great options for you. In our Insomnia Immunity program, we have a video-based curriculum. In BedTyme, we have a text-based curriculum. Either way, what really matters is that the content is laid out in a logical fashion, in a stepwise fashion, where every step takes you closer to that place of peaceful sleep for the rest of your life. If this sounds like something you'd like to explore, head over to our website, thesleepcoachtool.com. And if you decide to join and let us guide you forward, we can't wait to see you on the other side.